Wonderfully Weird World of Gumball just released its second season, making it the 8th total season of the show. And today, I'm gonna review and rank it all, starting off with the first episode, The Summoning. The episode starts at school with Gumball looking through Darwin's pictures he's taken to apply to the school yearbook club, and his pictures are really good. So it's a shame when he applies, he gets the job of taking out the trash, because Banana Joe is somehow the photographer, even though I'm not even sure he could take a good picture of his own butt. But after getting his ego shattered, he goes over to talk to Masami and the other girls, who have also been delegated stupid roles, like the pencil sharpeners. But it turns out they're not just sharpening pencils, they're doing some sort of evil witch magic. And when they realize that they can use Darwin, they invite him over to come over to their house later that day. And Darwin is weirdly chill about finding out that they're witches and decides to join them. So later that night, they go into the forest and create a potion that allows their wishes to come true. The girls wish to be yearbook editors, and Darwin wishes to be the photographer. And later that day, their wish comes true. Darwin then becomes a goth emo baddie, but it seems Masami having all this power isn't enough. She wants more and plans to take over the entire school to get revenge for her cooked picture last year. So Darwin and the other girls cast a spell to fix her picture, and this eventually calms her down back to reality. In the end, they decide to put their magic behind them and ultimately come to the conclusion that they should not join any more school clubs.
Hey Darwin, we've got an opening at drama club and are thirsty for new talent. You in?
Well, never mind. Quick reminder, we've been grinding super hard to get these videos about the new season out to you guys early. So if you want to give me the best Christmas gift possible, make sure to subscribe. All right, enough yapping, back to the video. Overall, this episode was a unique one to start the season, as we don't see too many episodes revolving around these characters, and not having Gumball as the main focus. But at the same time, there was really nothing too special compared to some of these other episodes later in the video that stood out to me. So I'll put this at B tier. Moving on, we have the episode The Unfollow. The episode starts with Gumball and Darwin being bored going through a bunch of bootleg movies that they've already seen. But one thing they haven't seen in a while is Sarah. There's no signs of her stalking them for a while, so something is definitely wrong. And it gets worse when they learn that she unfollowed them, which they quickly realize might be a good thing for the quality of their life. But their bodies literally can't help it and are starving for attention. It turns out that they miss her stalking so much that their bodies crave the attention and literally consume them, teleporting them to school where they confront Sarah and find out that she's standing a new guy now, named Soggy Coon. So Gumball and Darwin start scheming in their room. They get the idea that they need to change themselves in order to get her to like them. First, they try raising the production value, but that doesn't work. Next, they try combining every famous person into one, but that doesn't seem too appealing either, which I can't blame her for that one. So the next logical step is obviously becoming Skibbity Toilets. And this isn't just a coincidence. They literally parodied Skibbity Toilet. So yeah, Gumball and Darwin are clearly lost in the sauce. So then they try some more insane methods to win her back, but quite literally nothing is working until they finally break down and start begging for her attention back, until she reveals that she AI generated this Soggy Coon dude. And it turns out it was all a scheme the entire time to deprive Gumball and Darwin of her attention so that she can win them back over. And it turns out she's been planning this for over 7 years. So she chases them through the halls with some of the most horrifying faces I've ever seen. And when Sarah finally chases them home, she confronts them with a so-called fan wiki Q&A. And it's safe to say they got their stalker back. And I gotta be honest, I don't know why they wanted this. This episode was okay, but to me, it was honestly kind of annoying that they were just doing all of this to get attention from Sarah. And I'm not the biggest fan of Sarah in the first place. So the fact that they were trying to self-inflict this pain back onto themselves, plus the brain rot references, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in D tier. Next, we have the episode, The Promposal. The episode starts with the Elmore Junior High prom right around the corner, where Gumball is not very impressed by Carrie's prom proposal to Darwin, but Penny's proposal is kind of just garbage, and somehow her next attempt after that flop is even worse. So now, after those two stunts, Darwin has to try and bring Penny back to reality. So she tries normally proposing, but then Tobias blows her attempt out of the water and makes Gumball feel like garbage. Penny realizes that she can't fulfill his crazy dreams for this proposal, so she ends up setting up a situation where she gets crushed as a stunt. And when Gumball finally realizes it was her behind all those attempts, he gets emotional, and the moment is perfect.
If life was a candy store.
Yeah. Oh, my emotions.
You'd be the sweetest treat of them all.
Until she pulls a prank and says it was for Tobias, which literally kills him. This overall was a pretty good episode, but nothing exceptional. I'm gonna put this at B tier. And now we have the episode, The Trumpet. The episode starts with Nicole coming home from work, getting insane idealistic visions of everyone in the future, except for Gumball, which is probably the funniest thing I've seen so far in this season. Seriously, Gumball is literally a Discord mod in this episode. So Nicole gets the idea to give him a trumpet after finding out that playing instruments has a lot of benefits.
After a rigorous 5-minute search online, I found proof that taking up a musical instrument increases a child's discipline, motivation, and not becoming a live-at-home freeloading biohazard.
So they decide the best way to go about this is to gaslight Gumball into thinking he's good, but Gumball is absolutely horrible at playing the trumpet, and it just shows by their family's reactions. So Gumball goes around and starts tormenting everyone with his trumpet, but Nicole thinks it's all worth it because his grades are improving. But that's probably just because he's also tormenting Miss Simeon with the trumpet, pretty much forcing her to give him an A. It isn't until Anais and Darwin snap and tell him that he's not a musical genius, but he doesn't really care, and he's the favorite child now, so that still makes him feel good. Anais and Darwin then decide to get revenge and become like Gumball, which gives Nicole another vision into the future, making her realize that she needs to fix things. But it's too late because Gumball already turned his bedroom into a recording studio and killed a producer with his trash music, and to make it even worse, he's about to perform in the school gym. They think it's gonna be okay because as soon as he plays a note, it's gonna be trash. And that becomes true because Gumball playing the trumpet is worse than KSI singing the thick of it.
I'm in the thick of it, everybody knows.
But actually, you know what? Never mind. This is Elmore, so nothing makes sense, and everyone actually seems to love it. After delivering that act, Gumball decides he's so good that he's going to give up playing the trumpet, but it turns out, another plot twist, their reactions were actually planned, and they destroy the trumpet as soon as they can. I don't think I laughed this hard at a Gumball episode in a long time, so we're gonna go ahead and give this S tier, and we'll see as we keep going through the video if any episodes rank higher than this. And we might have a good contender with this next episode, The Synthesis. The episode starts with career day at school, where Nicole is trying to mog all the other parents, but she ends up just making a cringe rap song, causing Gumball to sped run away. Nicole gets her feelings hurt and goes to cry in the bathroom, where she finds Yuki is also crying for the same reason, causing them to nearly have an anime battle before slightly bonding over their kids hating them. which is when they decide to do something so powerful that could have nearly destroyed the entire universe, teaming up and finally joining forces, literally merging their bodies, and their power level is so strong that they could probably destroy the universe, accidentally destroying the school with nearly everything they do. Anais and Masami decide the only way to stop them is by synthesizing themselves, so they come together and have an epic fight in anime fashion. This is giving me huge vibes back to when Nicole and Yuki fought in the amazing world of Gumball, but this time it's elevated even more and the animation looks crisp. But it takes them until they take the fight to space. They have flashbacks and realize that they had extremely similar upbringings, and they made a huge mistake fighting their own daughters. So they make things right and go back to normal, but not before Miss Simeon comes out to fight them, causing all 4 of them to synthesize together just to fight her. And Miss Simeon somehow wins, by far making her the strongest character in Elmore. This episode was super good, and it really brought me back to the good times from the Fury. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in God tier. Moving on, we have the episode The Cheap Miss. The episode starts on Christmas Eve, with Gumball and Darwin really getting into the holiday spirit, but no one else in town is, as they're all too caught up in work. And the reason for that is because everything is too expensive now. So Christmas is canceled because everyone is working. So Gumball and Darwin feel they need to prove that they can still have a good Christmas without spending a bunch of money. So they go to the Awesome Store and try to find some cheap gifts. But everything is too expensive there, so they decide to just rob him and give away all his stuff. But everything in the Awesome Store turns out to be horribly dangerous and causes havoc all throughout the town. But after nearly destroying the entire town and realizing that Santa's not coming, they have to break into people's houses and try to be Santa themselves. During the run of being Walmart Santa, the cops start chasing them, and in the process of this, we actually get a reference to Jake from Adventure Time while they're trying to stop him with magic from the van, which is pretty cool to see. During this chase, they accidentally unleash a winter wonderland, which brings back the Christmas spirit. Everyone decides to give gifts to the Awesome Store guy, and we get a super humble ending where Christmas is finally back in Elmore. Oh yeah, Santa also comes in at the end, late from his day job. This episode really did a solid job of being a Christmas special, and it definitely sticks out to me as one of the more memorable episodes. I'll put this in A tier. Next, we have the episode The Score. The episode starts with Ocho losing his temper and absolutely crashing out on the bus. Gumball suggests he should download a mindfulness app, but ends up getting annoyed by all of the ads and crashes out again. So Gumball and Darwin try to help Ocho overcome his anger. Literally everything upsets Ocho, and he can't seem to do anything without crashing out or destroying the earth. But after talking with him, they realize his life is a lot harder than he lets on. So Gumball and Darwin go to live a day in Ocho's life to see what it's like. They realize the core of his anger might be that he literally has a score of 0 in his game, so Gumball and Darwin set out to make it higher. But game after game they play, they get absolutely destroyed. But when they lose, they realize that Ocho's life is set in hard mode, and he can't change it. So they decide if they can't win, they might as well just mess around and cause a bunch of chaos in the game. And while they're having fun with it, they actually start winning. Well, at least more than they were. This episode was pretty interesting. I'm gonna rank it at B tier. But now we gotta move on to the diary. We start at school where Gumball and Darwin are on a mission to get to the bathroom until they stumble upon a diary page from Claire Cooper's diary. And for some reason, they think this is the most interesting thing in the world, so they decide to start snooping. And the entire rest of the episode kind of just revolves around Claire's love life, which I'm gonna be honest, I could not give a single F about. And this episode was just really hard to sit through. I was actually just incredibly bored while watching this one, which is really saying a lot because this is a Gumball episode. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm putting this one at F tier. I think it's only right. The only scenario where where I would suggest this episode is if you're trying to fall asleep. In that case, I definitely recommend watching it because it'll put you to sleep. Next up, we have the episode The Punishment, where hopefully things are gonna get a little bit better than that one. The episode starts with Gumball and Nicole being super mad at each other because Gumball has some sort of discipline meeting at school for always being late, and they both think it's each other's faults. Throughout the day, they keep doing little things to annoy each other until someone cuts them off on the road, leaving them stranded, and then they keep arguing while running to school and trying to catch the meeting, which when they get there, Felicity, the parental guidance counselor, scolds them for being late and starts blaming Nicole. But after literally 7 minutes of Gumball and Nicole just arguing, they make up, and it turns out the reason Gumball is always late is because he wants to try and spend more time with his mom. It seems like everything's sorted out until Nicole realizes that Felicity is the one who initially cut them off in traffic earlier and got them into this whole situation being late to the meeting. So now they set out on a mission to make her life as miserable as possible. And it's honestly kind of satisfying to watch this, because out of everyone who deserves this kind of treatment, I would say Felicity is definitely up there. She is literally just the Karen of the Gumball universe. And speaking of the Gumball universe, yeah, you're not slick. I know you didn't subscribe earlier when I asked, and if you did or are already subscribed, good job, I like you. But anyway, Gumball and Nicole drive Felicity insane, and she gets arrested. I was initially gonna rank this episode pretty low because it's literally just Nicole and Gumball arguing, but the last few minutes of the episode really made it up in my opinion, and seeing Felicity get arrested was a nice bonus. I'll give it a C. Moving on, we have the episode The Roast. The episode starts at a community roast session in Elmore Junior High gym, but Gumball can't control himself and literally roasts the ever-living crap out of Alan for like an hour straight. Darwin confronts Gumball and tells him that nobody likes his mean behavior towards others, and Gumball, wanting everyone to like him, decides to hold in his thoughts and not say any negative words. But Gumball is literally about to explode from not saying anything in the situations he gets into, and eventually lets it out in the desert. Gumball realizes he needs to stop being a jerk, so he lays down his metaphorical sword and goes back to try to be a better person. And it turns out maybe he needed to do this all along, because Gumball is super chill now and is acting exactly like Alan would, being super kind and positive. But it turns out this would be a problem when Alan's positive reinforcement training on the toddlers backfired, and now Gumball is too nice to help fix it. This causes a bunch of problems until Alan gives an inspirational speech, causing Gumball to go into the metaphorical store, coming back with a bunch of weapons to defeat the toddlers, and Gumball ends up going absolutely insane, completely destroying the toddlers, and in the end, everything goes back to normal, after Gumball leashes out a little bit more rage on Alan.
Actually...
This episode was okay, but again, nothing special. I'll give it a C. And if you think these episodes are crazy so far, things are about to get way crazier in the episode The Survivalists. After watching a show similar to the popular show Naked and Afraid,
He must have fried his last brain cell around the time they were watching that show where people have to survive naked in the jungle.
Gumball gets the brilliant idea to try to replicate it in their backyard. Nicole quickly shuts it down, but later they're left home alone with Richard. And we all know he doesn't exactly have the best parenting skills, so they get locked outside and start replicating Naked and Afraid pretty quick. But it's clear they haven't touched grass in a while, since they get absolutely destroyed by nature in the first minute of them being out there. And they can't even fight off a squirrel. But somehow, in the process of trying to kill a squirrel, they catch some trash, which ends up getting them nearly eaten by flies. It's clear Gumball and Darwin have literally zero survival instincts. That's until Richard comes to save the day. But when Richard comes out, the squirrel runs into the house and locks them out, meaning they're actually stranded in their backyard now. I mean, not really, they could just walk into the front yard, but their collective 2 brain cells couldn't think about that. The squirrel ends up having a feast inside of their house while they're outside, trying to survive naked and afraid. They end up getting swarmed by animals, but then Richard probably does the funniest thing I've seen so far in this season. The animals take over the house and even somehow kick out Nicole and Anais when they get back. So now the roles are reversed, with the animals acting like civilized adults and the Watterson family now acting like animals. And then the episode just kind of ends. Honestly, this one was pretty funny and based off of a goated TV show, so I'm gonna give this one an A. And now we have the episode The Labels. The episode starts with Mr. Small giving a weird depressing speech with a sock puppet, and it turns out Mr. Small was fired from his job, and this is because he got replaced by a new character, Mrs. Combs, who took over the school and started putting labels on everybody, and these labels actually become true. Way too literally, with Gumball becoming a baddie, Alan becoming a teacher's pet, and Tina being late. It's safe to say these labels really bring out the worst in people. The sock puppet comes back and ends up giving them a motivational speech.
Labels are bad unless you choose them for yourself. You see, their power goes both ways because we become what we believe.
Which is exactly what they needed. They remove their labels, and everything in the school goes back to how it should be. Gumball then comes in with all the labels combined and uses the power to fire her from her position. This episode was a pretty interesting concept, and it was also nice to see a new character. I'll go ahead and put this one at B. Moving on, we have the episode The Fools. The episode revolves around nobody really celebrating or caring about April Fools, except for Gumball. All of his pranks fall flat, so Gumball decides to become a douchebag YouTuber and start pranking people, which ends up just pissing everyone off, eventually causing a massive prank war, which destroyed Elmore. Everyone gets mad at them, and they conveniently recorded all of the evidence online. So everyone goes to the Wattersons' house to get revenge, and it turns out all of this was one giant April Fool's prank in the end. This episode was pretty decent. I'll give it a B. Next, we have the episode The Homework. The episode starts with Gumball being too sick for school because he's been accidentally eating popcorn out of the throw-up bucket. Anais calls Gumball about forgetting her homework at home.
I forgot my book report at home and you're the only one who can get it to me.
So she gaslights Gumball to set out on a mission to attempt to get her homework to school, even though Gumball is probably on his last leg, and might shatter if you touch him with a feather. And it's pretty difficult for him to get there, to say the least. From fighting swans, to running through traffic, getting glazed between someone's thighs, running through active construction sites, getting dragged along by a car, and going up the stairs. Gumball's journey was not easy, and with some of the shots in this episode, it made me feel like I was tripping balls while watching it. But this was pretty interesting. I'll put it at B. And now we have the Sonder. The episode starts with Gumball and Darwin getting on a crowded bus. They realize that everyone around them kind of just acts like NPCs until they have an out-of-body experience and start having empathy for everyone else, seeing into their lives. Pretty much this whole episode's concept is just going into other people's lives and seeing some characters that we don't usually see a lot of. It's kind of funny because they even make a fourth wall break about the episode's predictable format.
Whoa. Hold up. Is this gonna be one of those things where we go around a bunch of random people, see a bunch of sketches, learn a lesson, then I sing a song at the end?
What I will say is interesting is that we get to find out some of Mrs. Robinson's backstory, and it turns out she was evil ever since she was a kid. In the end, having empathy and seeing things from other people's view did absolutely nothing. As it turns out, they were just talking to themselves the entire time, and everyone ends up just getting mad at them. But not before Gumball breaks into a beautiful song, scaring everybody off the bus. This was a really meta episode. Really weird though. I'll put it at C. Now, we're on to the last 5, starting with the Mister. The episode starts with finding out that Idaho sprouted, which means Idaho is officially an adult. But it turns out being an adult isn't all it's caked up to be, because Idaho has a hard time making friends in the real world. So Gumball and Darwin set out on a mission to teach Idaho how to act like an adult, even though they're kids. kids. They first take him to see an adult movie, which turns out to be a bit much for him. Next, they try to get a credit card, but the bank is way too willing to give them credit cards, so they just get overwhelmed and leave. Then Idaho tries to get a job, but he can't even get a low-end job without experience.
Well, where can I get a job to give me experience?
Nowhere will give you a job without experience.
Then how does anyone get experience?
But right after this slap on the face, Mr. Build-A-Burger's son comes in and gets a job, which is a perfect example of nepotism. They then give up on this whole job thing. Who needs that anyway, am I right? So they tried to get an apartment, but the housing crisis is still going on, and there are only places available for rich people.
Oh, those are luxury apartments for rich people, and I don't think that's you.
But once they finally get a place to stay, they get absolutely flooded with bills. But then they come to an absolutely crazy realization that adults don't really know what they're doing in life either, and everyone's kind of just pretending they know what they're doing. The entire episode is just parodying adulthood, and honestly, I found a lot of it funny. I'm gonna give this episode an A. Moving on, we have the episode The Tracking. The episode starts with Richard trying to find a new, innovative way to mow the lawn, which, let's just say, does not turn out well. But then Harold comes by and wants to have a competition to see who's in better shape. So they both wear the same watches and the competition begins. But Richard literally can't go without eating junk food for 2 seconds. So obviously the family realizes he's not very likely to win. So they end up cheating and try to give it to Nicole. But Nicole gets way too stressed throughout the day following a slow driver. And it's safe to say her heart rate numbers were not good through this. So it's not very optimal for her to be wearing it either. Next, it falls in the hands of Gumball, but for some reason, he struggles to drink water, sleep, eat, and breathe because the watch is too much pressure. So the watch gets quickly passed off to Darwin, but Darwin doesn't function like a normal fish. So apparently the watch can't track him. So now it's passed off to Anais. Anais probably does the best, but her legs are so small that her running does almost nothing. So she doesn't hit the step requirement. Nobody in the family can do this, so they decide it'll be funny to make the watch's stats as bad as physically possible. Because if anything, the Wattersons are good at failing. Richard starts running negative steps, screen maxing, and pretty much doing every unhealthy thing imaginable. When Harold comes by, Richard comes out looking jacked as ever, and he almost convinces Harold that he's healthier than him, until Darwin and Anais literally can't hold back his fat anymore, and he crushes him. But in the end, Harold passed out, so I guess Richard won anyway by technicality. This episode was really funny, and I like episodes where the entire Watterson family's involved. Honestly, I'm gonna put this one in S tier. I really liked it. Next, we have the pants. Something immediately is different about Banana Joe. He's wearing pants, and Joe is really trying to show this off, but for some reason, Gumball and Darwin don't notice what's different about him. Once Gumball makes the realization that Joe's wearing pants, his mind literally explodes multiple times. For some reason, Gumball is really bad at handling changes, and it's quite literally the only thing on his mind. Gumball doesn't really take well to him wearing pants. He compares it to a hat on a hat situation, which is pretty funny.
Him wearing pants is a hat on a hat situation.
Banana Joe then goes around and starts exposing how everyone in Elmore makes no sense, which makes everyone start to think that they need to wear clothes now. But everyone wearing clothes does not go well. Banana Joe wearing clothes on top of clothes is literally breaking the Elmore universe, just like you should have broken that subscribe button by now. But anyway, to get back at Banana Joe, everyone starts getting naked, and seeing some of the characters in this state is really uncanny, basically flipping the script on Banana Joe. This episode was really strange, but it also wasn't completely horrible. I'll just give it a C. And now we have the episode The Necropanser. The episode starts with Darwin going on a date with Carrie, but for some reason she has to take over Gumball's body for this date, which is honestly just kind of uncomfortable to watch. But even Gumball realizes this, so they come up with a different idea to go to the underworld so Carrie can get a spell to get her own body. In the underworld, they run through a bunch of evil people trying to get to the Necropanser's castle posal, which has the book to turn her into a human. They run through people like Dracula, the guys who try all the flavors in front of you at the ice cream parlor, and a giant worm guy who invented social media algorithms.
I'm the guy that invented social media algorithms.
They finally end up going over to the necropanser's castle, and the necropanser tries to make them admit a bunch of wild secrets. But then Carrie just ends up crushing him and they move on. They finally get to the book, and when they're about to do the spell to make her have a body, Carrie keeps trying to stop it from happening. It turns out she didn't want to change herself, and she wants to just keep being a ghost, even though it makes their relationship more complicated. But Darwin is super understanding to this and accepts it, and they end up being happy in the end, with Carrie finding a new method to possess Darwin. This episode was pretty good. I love to see Carrie and Darwin's relationship developing even more. I'm gonna put this in A tier. And last but not least, we have the final episode of the season, The Rewrite. The episode starts with Gumball pointing out plot holes that exist with their house.
Just add it to the other plot holes in our lives.
It makes my butt quiver to think of all that stuff that doesn't make sense.
Which, yeah, I didn't realize till now, but that literally doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they then start recalling a bunch of other weird changes, like animation changes, voice actor changes, and most importantly, the unresolved cliffhanger in season 6. They wonder what Rob is up to nowadays, and it turns out that he teamed up with the Awesome Store guy, where it gets revealed that he saved Rob from the void, and now he is his boss, and Rob is the apprentice. It turns out, if Gumball and Darwin realize that their lives are nothing but fiction, Elmore will collapse into the void. And it turns out that the Awesome Store guy has a laptop that can control the script of the show. So they try to start rewriting Gumball and Darwin's day specifically so they don't find the plot hole. And after writing a bunch of things into existence that literally make no sense at all, it all starts to make Gumball and Darwin question their reality even more. And after writing a whole bunch of disasters into reality, they realize that they're finally getting close to the school. So at this point, they have to give up and start driving there themselves. While driving there, Rob begins to realize that Gumball and Darwin this entire time have gotten the perception that Rob is the main villain, even though he never intended for it to be that way. But Rob decides to play his part and write a new ending, the only one that can fix this plot hole. They start trying to find the area where the plot hole left off in season 6, until Rob comes out and has an epic final boss battle. Or at least it was epic until the writers started leaving notes on the script and completely ruined it to be family friendly. But in the process of this, Rob falls into the void, and in the void we see the Awesome Store guy come out for the first time, and it turns out that Rob has finished his training. The Awesome Store guy retires, and Rob takes his role. Rob wonders what would happen if they ever get sent to the void again, and it turns out in the van there's an upload button, which can take you back to the real world. This episode was super cool, and honestly felt like a mini version of what would have been the Gumball movie. So it's safe to say that's probably not coming out anytime soon, because I have no idea what they would do for it anymore. And I'm gonna put it in God tier, above the synthesis. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire show. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of my rankings down in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content about the wonderfully weird world of Gumball. I pulled an all-nighter to make this video, so come on, subscribe.